we going to be live? That's the question. Will it go live? Will we see it? Waiting. Things are coming to life, but I don't know. Facebook's online. And it looks like YouTube's online, even though they say they're not. I don't know what's going on with Restream. I don't know. Strange things with Restream. Gotta figure it out. It says it's on hold, but it's still sending stuff out. Okay. Thank you, Restream. All right. Good morning. Welcome to the really big shoe. Good morning, Paul. Always good to see you. I'm sure you were the one out there hanging out. I don't know, Mike's there. Restream, still pushing forward with Restream. Like the features it has, it's able to stream to a bunch of different places. I got green in my shirt. Gotta watch out for that. See if I can turn down the green screen a little bit and get rid of that. Here we go. Like the ability to stream to multiple platforms at the same time, but it's just the interface is not quite right. So on the interface, you guys, I know you can't see it, but over there it's saying that the YouTube channel is on hold, but obviously we're live. I see people live out there. So, and I can see it on the playback on a secondary device. So not sure what's going on with Restream. Maybe that's just something they have to do because they have to. Hopefully, Morning, Dennis. Hopefully it's something that just, I guess it's a glitch in their system. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But I think just not worry about it. Hopefully there's only one stream out there. And I know Paul and Mike Bravo point out when there's more than one stream. Hopefully there's only one YouTube stream today. Hopefully it's just going out one time to YouTube. We don't have that duplicative stream. But let's jump into the news. Let's get the little teaser going, and then we'll be right into it. We do have our cup of illy coffee is in a new cup. Just picked up this weekend, Shadow Mountain Escape. Paul, I think you've been up there. Friends of ours went up to a resort right there outside of the Shenandoah. Well, I guess it's actually technically inside the Shenandoah National Park. But it's a cute little cabin place. Okay, nice place to go. Right outside of Luray. So, cool little place. Obviously, didn't get a lot of videos recorded because we were in the middle of the woods. So, a couple things going on. Where did Trivia Night go? Oh, there it is. Trivia Night, we have to push it back a week. So we're pushing it back to Wednesday the 15th of July, which is tax day, which is weird. Tax day being in the middle of July. But that's when we're pushing it back to, just because we're off the schedule. Posted a schedule, tried to stay on the schedule, and already, it's the 6th of July and we're off our schedule. So got a lot of the pre-work done. We just don't have the videos completely done to be pushed out. So it's a learning curve as we set a schedule and try to keep to it, because up to this point, we published when we could and we got stuff out there, and it seemed to be a little more regular. Now that we get a schedule, it seems like we're falling off it all the time. I guess that's just the way it is. So let's dive into the news today. Let's dive into the news and not be duplicating our overlays. That kind of morning. I don't know if that's Alex on Twitch or if somebody new. Alex, maybe? I don't know. First up, if you know, iOS 14 is coming out. There's some people that are using it already. Some people already have pre-installed it. They got it running, and a lot of security features are built into iOS 14. So if you're using Mac, using iOS 14, you may see some of these things. one of the things that is going on with this new version of software is it will alert you when another application is accessing the clipboard. So you'll get a notification every time this happens. And a bunch of folks have been already caught accessing the clipboard. Most recently, LinkedIn has been caught accessing the clipboard. And a researcher named @DonCube, that's his handle, was using his Apple device, his iPhone, not an iPhone or a tablet, and he noticed that the clipboard was being accessed by LinkedIn. So it looks like in a note it says, looks like Apple fixed the clipboard privacy issue we highlighted earlier this year. Apple said it wasn't an issue, but surprisingly fixed it in iOS 14, the exact way we recommended in our article. A notification is shown every time an app or widget reads the clipboard. And this is from Mystic at MYSK_CO on Twitter. So they posted some information earlier about, hey, you should notify us. And Apple said, nah, we're not. It's not that big a deal, but now they fixed it. They fixed it. So now, if you're running iOS 14, you'll see when people have an application that is accessing the clipboard for whatever reason. So, in a note back to @DonCubed, hi @DonCubed, appreciate you raising this. We've tracked this to a code path that only does an equality check between clipboard contents and the currently typed context in the text window. We don't store or transmit clipboard contents, and that's from Eric Berger from LinkedIn. So they're saying, yeah, we know we're doing this. They're saying it's some type of error checking, maybe because to see if you're posting in a clipboard and thinking you're posting in LinkedIn. I don't know. Seems pretty fishy to me. We're going to talk later about Microsoft. You know, this is always what these folks say this is a feature, right? This is a feature of these applications. So earlier, TikTok got caught accessing clipboard every few seconds. They said they're going to remove the feature. There's other apps. Twitter, Starbucks, Overstock, AccuWeather, and more have all been caught reading clipboard data. So I'm not sure why these folks would need to read clipboard data. If you're running iOS, you're running an Apple phone or something like that, I say, you know, as early as you think it's stable to move forward to iOS 14, it's probably safe to do that. You got to do that on your own schedule. Still, upgrade when you think it's good for you. There's a lot of security features in iOS 14. We talked about it a few weeks ago. This is a really good one. This is a really good feature to know when somebody is accessing the clipboard. So, bad on you, LinkedIn. I don't know exactly why you would need to do that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe to check the contents to see if someone is typing in the wrong window. It's a far stretch there in my mind to do that. Just kind of weird. The .NET framework is also in the news. This is from a Bleeping Computer. It's got to do with garbage collection. We talk about garbage collection every once in a while. You want an application to clean up unused data every once in a while, so you don't have something like a memory leak or something that takes over a lot of your system resources and slows your system down. So garbage collection is a good thing, but this looks like garbage collection gone bad. So this was discovered, and we got this guy's name here, Paul Lane. From Context Information Security discovered this. It's a vulnerability in the .NET Core library that allows malicious programs to be launched while evading detection by security software. And it affects the latest stable release of the .NET Core, which is 3.1.x, whatever, 3.1, and then the minor revisions up. Unfortunately, when this code is run, it has the ability to bypass and evade antivirus and endpoint detection and response, or EDR, products as well. And it has to run in it can run at any level of user. So it can be a normal user that can run this. And it's because .NET Core lets you use a custom DLL as a garbage collector. And it also has this environmental variable com plus underscore GC name for specifying custom .NET garbage collectors. And that is not sanitized. So because it's not sanitized, we always talk about sanitization of input. If you use a traversal character like .. that path goes unfiltered. So there's some issues here. Obviously, that we could build a custom garbage collector that's actually malicious code. That's bad because, of course, this goes unnoticed. It doesn't get picked up by your antivirus software, your endpoint protection software. Terribly bad thing, but I guess there is a bit of good news. It has to be part of kind of a chained attack. So someone has to get access to a computer first, whether that's a trusted insider or somebody from the outside. So they would have to chain this to another exploit. So the attacker would have to first exploit something else, some other way of getting on the box and getting some level of permission. So like we said, it can be a normal user permission, which is bad enough. And then they can run the garbage collector. So it's got to be part of a chain attack. I think it's bad just because of what it does. But of course, our friends at Microsoft don't think so. Their comment here, where's the fine comment from Microsoft? Per MSRC, we do not consider this to be a security vulnerability. Exploiting this would require the adversary to modify the environment block, at which point they've already controlled. They already have control over other aspects of the application's execution, stated a Microsoft representative on the GitHub issue reported by Lang. Sure, they've got to exploit something else to get to it, but that's all our concept of defense in depth. There are some rules already written, so you can look for this string. It has to run under the string com plus underscore GC name. That's a fixed string that has to run. So you can set your IDS and you can set some of your processes like your filters and stuff to look for that string. So anything running on that com plus underscore GC name, you can monitor for it and see if it's a legitimate process or an illegitimate process. Because it looks like this process, this garbage collection process, obviously should happen. So we see the almost like Microsoft saying it's not a bug, it's a feature. That's that common word we get back from Microsoft, which is ridiculous sometimes. Obviously, we have to have some way to do garbage collection on our systems when we write code. So that's the what that's going on here. This garbage collection function needs to be corrected. It needs to do some input validation. It obviously can be exploited as part of a chained attack by the bad guy. So we see that's how they get in. The bad thing is they can build a module, a DLL module, that's called this garbage collection module, and it can run malcode, and it can do just about anything. But the one good bit of news in here is it does have to be part of a chained attack. It has to be part of an attack that includes some other stuff. But it can, obviously the bad guy's going to use this to help evade detection, because that's the big thing this is going to do for them. On the blue team side, what we've got to do is first thing we've got to set up a rule to start looking for this thing. Com plus underscore GC name. Have the rule out there, have it run, have it logged somewhere so that your SOC folks can look at it. Hopefully it's all legitimate processes running. And I don't know how many times this would run in a day. I don't know how much overhead this would cause your SOC or someone. But if you can filter on that and maybe you just look for what's normal, and then once you determine what's normal, you can look for the things that are not normal. I think it's worth throwing in your SOC to start looking for. As an end user, obviously update your antivirus, run your patches as you can. It's evading most of your protective measures as an end user, as an endpoint, a home user. Hopefully no one's targeting you. Because I don't think you have a full-on security operations center at your house. So at the enterprise level, there's a lot of stuff we can do. we can alert the SOC. We can have them build a rule set for this. Snort, IDS, your SIEM, they can all look for com+_GC name, build some rules around it, know what's normal, and then maybe you'll be able to see what's not normal. Hopefully Microsoft's going to fix this. It doesn't sound like they're hot to do it. It's part of a chained attack, so if we can identify that initial attack that's bringing it in, and that's why we need to identify, we need to update our antivirus, our malware protection, do our patching on time. That'll help identify, hopefully, that malware, malcode that's bringing this DLL in. Once the DLL gets in and runs on your home box, I don't know there's much you can do to stop it at this point today. Because a lot of us are not running full-on security operations centers at home. Our friends Huawei are in the news as well. Daily Telegraph is reporting that British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is now removing Huawei equipment from the core of Britain's 5G network. And it goes back to the story we talked about last week with the U.S. removing Huawei equipment from all of our infrastructure and getting it off of U.S. networks. Prime Minister talks about getting it out of the core of the 5G network, and it's mostly tied to the inability to work with the United States on intelligence issues if they're running Huawei as their on the core of their 5G network. So it's a major turn from the Boris Johnson, but he is poised to begin phasing out the use of Huawei technology in Britain's 5G network as soon as this year, and they want it totally gone by 2023. We're seeing the West more and more push away from Huawei. We're probably going to see a lot of the East, especially the Pacific Rim, Asian countries, probably staying with Huawei. We're going to see how that plays out. Earlier this year, the article goes on to say, earlier this year, the UK government agreed on the involvement of Huawei in the national 5G network, while the United States expressed its disappointment for the Johnson decision and threatened to limit intelligence sharing with the ally. The Prime Minister plans to reduce Huawei's involvement in Britain's 5G network in the wake of the coronavirus outbreak in the Telegraph learned. It's kind of weird that he's tying it to the coronavirus instead of tying it to the intelligence issue with the United States, which it more than likely is. I would believe it strongly tied to the limiting of intelligence being provided to the UK government by the US, and that sharing between UK and US, because if we don't trust, we being the United States, if we don't trust their networks, we're not going to send them so much intelligence. And even if that intelligence is traveling over these 5G networks or other networks, it's not trusted by the United States. So I see them restricting the amount of data that's going to go over there if, of course, Great Britain continues to use Huawei. So in January, the EU's Executive Commission presented a set of rules and technical measures aimed at reducing cybersecurity risks for the adoption of 5G. The Commission's recommendations including blocking high-risk equipment suppliers from what they quote as critical and sensitive components of the 5G infrastructure, such as the core. So it could go further beyond just England. It could go into the European Union as well. So I think we're going to see a big splitting of where Huawei is used. I think Huawei is going to be used in Pacific Rim countries, maybe in East countries in the East, including India, probably Russia. But it's probably not going to be used in countries in the West. It's going to be a weird split there. Huawei was pushing ahead pretty hard in a lot of their products over the past couple years. But obviously, as a home user, I don't personally know anyone using Huawei equipment at home. This is more of a infrastructure, big government issue. Trusted supply chain. This goes back to, if we're talking about RMF stuff, trusted supply chain. Do you trust where your equipment's being purchased from? Do you know where you're getting it from? How is it coming into your organization? So that's what we got to watch out for as security folks out there fighting the good fight, we have to know, where is our supply chain? So if our organization doesn't have a trusted supply chain process, we need to start pushing for that. It's probably not an information security function. It's probably there's apparently can't walk down the road with the dogs. I'm watching 2 extra dogs. Got my daughter's dogs, so they are not used to being around so many people walking down the street. So, anyways, build a supply chain program is probably something information security doesn't run. It's probably not something cybersecurity runs. It needs to be part of your acquisition process. It's not just software, it's hardware, it's all kinds of stuff. It's professional services. Where are you getting your professional services from? That has to be part of it. And Huawei, this example from Huawei here, is just a prime example. It's a giant reason why we have to worry about this kind of stuff, right? ECANs. This is snake ransomware. If you ever ECANs, if you look at that, it's just snake backwards. So the snake ransomware has evolved a bit, and as we see, a lot of these ransomware attacks are evolving, right? So experts have spotted recent samples of the snake ransomware isolating infected systems while encrypting the files to avoid interference. So, excerpts from the cybersecurity firm Deep Instinct recently spotted samples of the snake ransomware, as they say, also known as ECANs, observed isolating infected systems to encrypt their files. So essentially what they're doing is once they exploit a box or a system, a computer, they turn on the firewall and they protect the system with the system's own isolation feature. So essentially, what they're doing is they're turning on the firewall to block connections to the computer, except for the processes that are encrypting the file system. And obviously, this is in use to keep the encryption from being detected, right? If you can't scan for it, if you can't look for the detection of the encryption going on, you probably can't stop it. So, Snake is one thing, from the end user perspective, we're relatively safe from this snake ransomware. This is generally posing risk to industrial control systems. So we see this in some of the places that have been attacked by snake already. Frensis Group in Europe, which is a hospital provider, and Japanese car maker Honda have both been hit by snake. And it's really targeting industrial control systems, ICS, or SCADA devices, things, robots, and industrial control systems, and devices that are automated. So in the story, who is saying this? Before installing the encryption, Snake will utilize Windows Firewall in order to block any incoming and outgoing network connections to the victim machines that aren't configured by the firewall. Windows' built-in NTSH tool will be used for this purpose. That's from the analysis published by cybersecurity firm Deep Instinct. Disconnected from the outside world, Snake will kill the hard-coded processes that may interfere with encryption. The list, and they provide a list in the article, which of course is provided below, contains processes related to industrial world and several security and backup solutions. Obviously, we want to kill the backup solutions, including the shadow files and all that good stuff. So, if you're in a world where you have to worry about ICS or industrial control systems, obviously this is one of the things that we should worry about. PLCs, controllers, I would think, are in the list of things this would go out. It doesn't call it out per se in this article, but I wouldn't see why controllers would be excluded. Good point, though. It does call out industrial control systems in general, so I would assume that PLCs are included in this. Good point, Dennis. Thanks for bringing that up. The bigger umbrella of ICS or industrial control systems is sometimes overused, and it doesn't provide us specific details on what this thing is attacking. So I would assume that it's targeting ICS in general, but the article doesn't say that. That's my personal assumption, right? that is going after all portions of the industrial control system infrastructure. And we see this as targeted attacks go back to some of the bigger attacks on ICSs, like Stuxnet's being the biggest, I guess, point in history where we can start saying, okay, now this is where we've had targeted attacks just on ICS. And in that case, it was PLCs and controllers and the robot modules and everything. So it did cover, of course, in that example, it covered the whole gambit, obviously down to the point where the centrifuges were the target of that attack. But it did see things along the way. One thing I think is interesting is it uses the Windows firewall. So it's not specifically targeting those things that, like PLCs or controllers that have custom written code, custom OSs. So that's why that question is kind of a little perplexing, Dennis. I think you're onto something there. So it's only those ICS devices that are running Windows, in this case, at least in this article as they wrote it. So whatever you have, wherever your ICS components are running on Windows, you have a risk of this. If your ICS components are running on custom code, I would say you're probably, at least in this case, for this one specific article, you're probably okay. So yeah, it's interesting. PLCs running on Windows definitely, I think, would be at risk. Article goes on to say, once all the preparations are completed, the ransomware can initiate the encryption process, excluding several system-critical folders, files, and extensions included in the Snake's hard-coded list. And again, the list is provided. Includes document virtualization database and archive extensions, amongst others. And then it renames everything with the word ecans at the end of the file, changes the encrypt me text to encrypt me text with a random string of characters at the end of it. So again, purpose of this ransomware attacks, always know the purpose of ransomware attacks is to encrypt your files, steal your data, and then do a ransom for some cash from you. We always want to get, as the bad guy, they always want to get the cash from you to pay for your files back. So for these articles, really, kind of across the board here, we've got LinkedIn stealing data from your clipboard, or at least accessing it. .NET has a code vulnerability. Huawei being pulled off of Britain's networks, and then Snake ransomware going after ICSs. Crazy world. That's the news. That's what's new today, July 6th, up to about 7:15 this morning. Obviously, as the day rolls on, we'll see more stuff coming out. That's a big thing you should know about as you start your day. The other thing you should need to know is, obviously, we've got the holiday, our weird holiday of the day is today is National Fried Chicken Day. So apparently, on the article, again linked in the show notes below, first cooked and served fried chicken was a sign of wealth. 26 people listed in the U.S. white pages with last name of chicken. None of them have the first name of fried. I wonder if any of them have the first name of Fred. Fear of chickens is called electrophobia. There's some other notes there you can read at your leisure. So that's your rundown of the day. What's going on with you guys today? Anything going on out there in the world of cyber that we all need to know about? What are you guys seeing at your places of business, at your work joints? Anything exciting? Anything good? Anything you guys want to know about? Mad that we're moving trivia tonight? I don't know. Mad that we're off schedule? Gonna get back on schedule though. This month we'll get back on schedule. First month with schedule. Gonna take a bit to get used to it. So, anyways, I guess that wraps us up for the day. Wraps us up for the morning. We can let you guys get on with your day. That's your cup of cyber. That's what's going on in the world today. As always, share with your friends if you can. If you find anything here useful and interesting, let us know. Please share. Hit the little thing right there to subscribe. Hit the bell to be notified. Like the video, and of course, comment below. We'd love to see your comments. We'd love to hear what you got to say. Is there something we should be covering that we're not covering? Are we missing a big part of the news that you think we should have out there? Let us know so we can cover down and cover what you guys want to know. So, as always, I'm Jim with Cyber-Recon. Be good out there. As Mike would always say, go get some, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.